Good morning. So starting in August, I took a month-long social media break. And in that time, I had a lot of time to really do some work. Not only for my brand, but also for myself. And one thing that I discovered during a really dark time during that moment, was Cerebral. Now, Cerebral is a company that offers both anxiety or depression meds as well as therapy or therapeutic sessions and support and help and all those good things. So when I was really at a dark space and I wanted to see if meds could potentially help me, that is who I found when I was Googling. Now, this is not sponsored by Cerebral, but I'm just letting you all know that Cerebral is a really good company if you are without insurance like I am, or you don't really know exactly which way to go. They really help to guide you. So after my appointment that I had with Cerebral, I was diagnosed with anxiety, which I already knew I had. I did tell them my mental health history, which is mostly depression, but I have anxiety as well, and my anxiety tends to not really come to the surface, or it's not really looked at as intensely as depression is. But unbeknownst to me, I have been dealing with anxiety on a very low grade yet visceral level my whole life, and because of that, it's gone untreated. Now, that's not me coming up with that. That is what my therapist and I through Cerebral actually spoke about. And what she shared with me was how sometimes when we are looking for the root of one thing, another thing comes in. And because it's not what we're looking for, we tend to negate it. And unfortunately, those of us that deal with mental illness tend to get lost in those spaces, especially if we deal with multiple. So she again asked me my history, and I told her that I have been going to therapy since I was 18, and every time the option of meds came up, I was told that I don't need them. So I've never been anti-med. I was just always told by who I thought were people that knew me better than I did that I don't need them. So her response to me said, are you familiar with gaslighting? And I went, yes. I never even put it together that any of the therapists that I've seen in a 15-year span could very well have just been like, oh, well, because she's high functioning, she doesn't need this thing. She's good over there. And in actuality, I needed help on both sides. I needed help with both depression and anxiety. And because my depression, for the most part, and I'm trying not to own it because it's not mine, it's the depression that I deal with, the anxiety that I deal with. But because of the anxiety and depression that I deal with did really well through talk therapy, no one sought to go farther. So it just left me in this cycle of, okay, we're just going to talk it out and it's going to be fine, but then what? So after our initial therapy session, as well as a quiz that Cerebral gives you, I was given my first ever prescription, and I was given Lexapro. I cannot say I was terrified. I wasn't. I was really excited because talk therapy does what it does for me, but I definitely needed something stronger. I needed something more than what I was getting at that time and what I've gotten in the last 15 years. So I was excited. I wasn't worried. Well, I'll take that back. I was a little worried because being a sex educator, being someone who talks about these things, and then doing my research and seeing how these things are affected, especially your libido can be affected with antidepressants or anxiety meds. That was the one thing I was worried about. I wasn't too much worried about any of the other symptoms. And being on this medication since about early September, I haven't had any issues outside of a small dip in my libido. So let me explain exactly how I felt the first time I took Lexapro. I was definitely told to take 1/2 of a pill just to see what would happen for 2 weeks. I got scared and took 1/2 for a month. And in my check-in, my therapist was like, so you haven't moved up? And I was like, no. She's like, you have to move up. I'm like, okay. So I moved up and I actually started to feel better. So the one thing that I noticed immediately was my brain went, is this what everybody else feels? Is this what the people that don't deal with anxiety, is this what they feel? And realizing that, it blew me away, because I was listening to a podcast and she was talking about how when she first took, I believe it was Prozac, how colors looked more vivid and she could hear things more clearly. And it wasn't like this magical drug was able to do this thing, but it definitely helped her to see things in a way that anxiety, depression wouldn't allow her to see it. So for me, it was like, this is what it feels like to not have a constant vice over your brain. This is what it feels like. Now, I do dabble in edibles. This is before I started taking my meds, but what I've discovered with edibles is it kind of gives me the same effect as far as allowing my brain to breathe, but I can't stay in that state constantly the way in which edibles present it to me. Versus what Lexapro does, it gives me a little bit at a time and it allows me to be more functional. Now, I'm not here to say that Lexapro is going to do the exact same thing it did for me, for anyone that may be watching. For me, this is my experience. This is what it made me feel like. And it changed so much about my routine, and it helped me to really work through some things that I had either put to the side or was too afraid to see what it would look like on the other side. So with that comes the side effects. So when I first started taking them, I felt extremely jittery, but it was only in one place. It was just around my mouth. I don't understand why. It just felt like I was just all the time. And no one could see it, but I felt it. And it made me like, what is it? And of course, with any meds, you have to kind of wait a little bit, give it time for your system to get used to it. So I kept taking the 1/2 a pill for that reason, because I was worried that when I go up to a full pill, it would get worse, but it actually didn't. And it went away. It went away. I can't even tell you when it went away. I just remember, my teeth aren't chattering anymore. They aren't clicking, being weird. The other thing is it makes me sleepy. Not drowsy, sleepy. So I have a cousin who took Lexapro a few years ago, and she advised me to take it at night. I don't know if that's what you're supposed to do, but I can't imagine taking Lexapro during the day, because I would get nothing done. I would get nothing done for my day job. I would get nothing done for my brand, nothing. So I take it at night. It has become a part of my nighttime routine. It helps me to sleep a lot better. Now, granted, I do still wake up at least once a night, and usually that's to go to the bathroom or to switch positions or whichever. But it does help me to sleep a little more soundly. But here's something that I did not expect and no one told me about: the dreams. Did not know that Lexapro gives you the wildest dreams. So I had to get used to the fact that a whole bunch of stuff is happening. Now, I already have vivid dreams. I also have the ability to lucid dream. So adding in a little sprinkle of Lexapro kind of makes it a little bit more wild. But I'll take that over being constantly anxious. So that is my life right now as far as meds. I do highly recommend companies like Cerebral. Even if you cannot do Cerebral, because it is pretty pricey. It starts off at $45 when you first start, and then it's $99 a month after that. I've had to make room in my budget to accommodate for that, but how consistently I receive my meds is really helpful. I do notice a massive difference when I do not take my meds, so I try to remember to take them every night. There are moments when I don't feel like I need it, so in those moments I opt out not to take it for a day or so, but I try not to wait until I'm in an anxious space to remember that, oh yeah, I have meds for this. I try to be as consistent as possible. So with that, I wanted to share what life has been like for me since going on meds. I can say I do feel a lot better. I feel more at peace. I feel more at home in my body, and I'm really thankful for that. It does give me a clarity of mind that I've never had before. And I'm not saying that this magical pill will fix everything, but it definitely did support me when I needed it most. If videos like this are what you are looking for, this is what I offer here on The Joy Element. We are all about resetting our inner life over here, emotionally, mentally, physically, and sexually. So that is what we do here. If that's something that you're interested in, make sure that you subscribe, like this video, and cut on post notifications, because I do plan on posting more consistently now that I have some things in better control. But if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Again, my name is Joy, and I hope you have a wonderful day.